Welcome to OhSister, where I unpack my Mormon sister missionary journals 10 years later. All right, so this week we are starting with the theme from the hymn, Let us oft speak kind words to another, or Let us oft speak kind words is officially the title. And we're talking about contention today. So this hymn it kind of has a poetic take on the idea, but the idea is basically don't have contention, always speak nicely to one another. So let me just give you a bit of a idea of how it goes. It's like, let us oft speak kind words to each other, at home or where we may be, like the warblings of birds on the heather. The tones will be welcome and free. They'll gladden the heart that's repining, give courage and hope from above. And where the dark clouds hide the shining, let in the bright sunlight of love. Oh, the kind words we give shall in memory live, and sunshine forever impart. Let us oft speak kind words to each other. Kind words are sweet tones of the heart. Yeah. Okay, so there's a second verse too, but it's mostly just sort of like weird, late 1800s, early 1900s poetry about like how nice it is to hear nice words. And sure, some of these ideas are in some instances kind of nice. It's like, yeah, it's nice to hear nice things from other people. It's nice to give courage and hope. It's nice to gladden the heart that's repining. And it's true, if we say kind things to each other, it's like, yeah, it'll live in memory. And, it's like, in general, good to speak kindly to each other. But this goes to an extreme in Mormonism, and especially when you're a missionary, right, where it's all even more extreme. So the idea that sunshine can forever impart in the chorus here is a bit of a foreshadowing. And it's interesting. I still have this little hymnal. I also have several editions of the hymnal in like the big version that you would use. I have like ones that I was given when I was married, and I have like a big nice edition that I used when I played the organ for the church. That was pretty fun. But this is the hymnal that I packed around with me on my mission, and we would have used songs just like this to teach, and we would sing them together in our morning studies. And there's even a handy section in the back of the hymnal where they have first lines and titles, and they also have different topics. And the idea is that these hymns teach doctrine. So I think I've talked about this before, but let me just sort of read part of the preface from the first presidency, which means if there's ever a first presidency message, it means that this is like whoever the prophets approved, right? So let's see. I want to say, some of the greatest sermons are preached by the singing of hymns. Hymns move us to repentance and good works, build testimony and faith, comfort the weary, console the mourning, and inspire us to endure to the end. And I was taught that the words of the hymns in the approved hymnal are doctrine. And okay, so continuing with this idea of speaking kind words always, I'm going to now move to Preach My Gospel, the missionary manual, and I have my manual that I used on my mission, and of course the manual is now online for missionaries, or like the app or whatever, and there are surprisingly a few updates. So if you go and look at the link that I put in the description, it may not read exactly the same as this, but it's, I'm assuming, pretty similar, and this is what I was taught about contention and speaking kind words. And specifically, this is the chapter 6 Christ-like attributes section. So these are the values that they want you to cultivate as a missionary to be more like Christ. And this one is patience. And I'm just going to read the whole entry on patience because it's not very long. So it says, patience is the capacity to endure delay, trouble, opposition, or suffering without becoming angry, frustrated, or anxious. It is the ability to do God's will and accept His timing. When you are patient, you hold up under pressure and are able to face adversity calmly and hopefully. Patience is related to hope and faith. You must wait for the Lord's promised blessings to be fulfilled. You need patience in your everyday experiences and relationships, especially with your companion. You must be patient with all people, including yourself included, as you work to overcome faults and weaknesses. Okay, so it's interesting because reading through this now, when I was a missionary, I underlined the point that I should be able to endure delay, trouble, opposition, or suffering, and I underlined without becoming angry, frustrated, or anxious, right? So this, this right here is not the same direction as only say kind things to each other, right? But this is saying like, yeah, endure everything with patience and faith and calmly and hopefully, aka no contention. And I could read scriptures about how contention are bad and of the devil, but I think I already have, and I want to make my point with just these two things. So basically, when I was Mormon, and I'm unlearning this now, but also specifically on my mission, I had a lot of difficulties with never being comfortable with conflict or contention, partially because it was just not, that was not a thing I had learned to navigate in my own life, like dealing with conflicts with other people or contention, but also because I was specifically taught that contention was bad. I was taught that I should not be angry, frustrated, or anxious. I was taught that contention was the spirit of the devil. So if I was angry about a situation or with someone about something they were doing or not doing or whatever, it was really hard to address that because if I was angry or frustrated, then that was not the spirit of God, that was the spirit of the devil. So it was like I couldn't have a conversation with them if either of us became angry or frustrated or anxious, which is just really hard to do. So just there was a lot of, okay, we can only say kind things to each other. We can only be happy, and if anyone becomes angry or frustrated, if we're following these rules, then we just can't talk about it. And if it gets to the point where it's become so explosive and someone has gotten so pushed that we have to talk about it, we did not have the skills to talk about it. Like two young women, like 19, 20, 21. So this is now in the context of like if it's me and my companion, and neither of us are really equipped to be able to talk about something and simultaneously feel angry and have a productive conversation, right? You could see how this is bad. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but just the point for you to take in at this point is we were not supposed to feel angry. We were supposed to practice patience, and patience specifically meant enduring delay, trouble, or opposition or suffering without becoming angry, frustrated, or anxious. And we were specifically told we should be patient, especially with our companion, but just in the everyday experiences and relationships. And we were even singing hymns like this, "Let us oft speak kind words to each other." And there are so many other hymns that I could pick that have the same message in a different way. But I want to bring out 2 points about this idea. I think there are many dangers or problems if I want to be less fear-mongering about it, but there are many problems with not allowing contention or conflict. I could talk a lot about this, but I'm going to focus on 2 points that I thought of. So the first one is best case scenario. If everyone is, operating like from the best interests and no one's like trying to hurt the other person, right? You cannot build true intimacy in relationships if you don't have contention or conflict as part of what you talk about and what you talk through. And I have said over and over that I'm not a licensed therapist or psychologist. This is just something that I'm really interested in learning about, probably because a lot of what I learned about how this, how relationships and feelings, etc., the roadmap that I was given through my Mormon experience was pretty inaccurate, actually. So I've been working really hard the last while to learn a different way of navigating the world. And there is one resource that I really love. So she has her degree now, so she is a therapist, master's in social work person, Heidi Praeb, and she has this fabulous YouTube channel where she talks about all the different aspects of relationships and emotions and practical steps of how they work and understanding what doesn't work and why, and it's been so helpful for me. And conveniently, she has a video titled "How People Pleasing Kills Intimacy and Honest Conflict Builds It." So you don't only have to trust me when I say a relationship is going to be less close and less actually intimate if you're not allowed to, if you can only speak kind words to each other in your relationship, no matter if you're only saying kind things, and if you can't talk about when you're angry, if you can't address conflict or upset, you are not going to really be close with this person. And so here's just one short quote from her video, and I'm linking the video, and you should go watch it if you're interested, because it's very good to know. But here's how she starts the video. She says, "Often when we're doing things because we want to feel validated or liked, or like we are kind people, we call it people-pleasing. But it actually works against us when it comes to developing intimacy. Intimacy requires us to be known. And being known by another person means sharing the ways in which we disagree with them or have dissent inside of the relationship. People-pleasing gets in the way of us developing actual sustainable relationships. So what we think is bringing us closer to people is actually often driving a wedge between ourselves and them." End quote. So She, of course, I'm not going to tell you the whole thesis. Like, I'm not going to read to you the script of her entire video because it's like a 30-minute video. But it is known in the people, by experts who study how to have close, meaningful relationships and how to deal with feelings, etc. It is known and proven, and it is a fact that to be close with someone, you have to address conflict, and you have to share when you are feeling upset. And it's not saying that you should yell at other people or not be as kind as you can while speaking about these things, but you will probably feel angry and upset at this person, and you will have to tell them this. And when I was a Mormon, this was forbidden. Like, you're not supposed to get angry, and you're not supposed to be upset with people, and you certainly should not tell them. Yeah. So that's the first danger of not allowing contention or conflict in relationships. And then the second one is, I sort of have harped about this a lot at this point, but I'm not going to let it go. Basically, is that you are primed to lose your healthy anger response to harm and abuse. If you are not allowed to see conflict or contention as a valuable source of information for the relationship. If you see contention as only bad and of the devil, and you're not supposed to be angry, and you're only supposed to say sweet things, and you are supposed to hold up under pressure and face adversity calmly and hopefully, this is priming you to accept harm or abuse from someone, particularly if they are a person that the church has told you has God's authority over you, right? Like explicitly taught in Preach My Gospel, that patience is the ability to do God's will and accept his timing, and to face this calmly and hopefully. And if someone in your life is representing the authority of God, and they are telling you that you have to do something that initially feels bad, and you have an anger response to it or a frustration response to it, but worse, like they are actively harming you and you feel angry or upset by that, this teaching teaches you to gaslight yourself that you're not supposed to feel angry. If you feel angry, it's not like, oh, this means maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe I should take a minute to think about this relationship or this situation, and like, do I need to get myself out of this? Do I need to talk to this person about what's going on? Do I need to say, hey, no, you can't talk to me that way, or no, I will not do this, or XYZ, right? Instead, you say, oh no, I'm feeling angry. I'm not supposed to be angry. I'm such a bad person. I need to repent. I need to push that down, and I need to tell this person who might even be a bully or some sort of perpetrator, I need to tell them kind things, right? And there is just another resource that, if you are more interested in learning about how this culturally shows up in Mormonism, in the LDS faith, I'm also going to link a interview from an ex-Mormon YouTuber, Alyssa Grenfell, an interview that she did with Heather Gay, who is she's like sort of exmormon, reality star from like the Mormon Housewives or whatever. But Heather Gay has been getting more involved with learning about the dysfunction and the built-in systematic problems of abuse within the LDS Church. And so she has recently done a sort of documentary called Surviving Mormonism. And you can watch that documentary, but you have to like subscribe to whatever platform is hosting it. So if you can't access that, then you can at least watch this interview for free of, someone of an ex-Mormon talking with Heather about what it was like making the documentary and sort of the different stories that come up. So you'll still get an idea of what's in it and sort of get to watch it, even if you can't like watch it. If you can watch it, of course, I do recommend watching it. I haven't watched it myself, but I've watched people talk about it, and it seems really eye-opening and important information. But yeah, basically there are many situations, it's super common where, like, unfortunately, like worst case scenario, there is someone who is being harmed by someone like in their family or someone in the church. And the way that, like, if how an adult finds out who like should be a responsible adult who should like step in and like call the police and like stop the harm from continuing, instead the adult has been primed their whole life to go to the church authorities to figure out what God's will is. So they reach out to their bishop, or if the bishop is the perpetrator, they might reach out to the stake president. And the people who are in authority positions have been primed their whole lives to listen to God's authority. So they reach out to the people above them. And basically, it is super, super... I mean, I've never heard a story of situations of abuse being managed appropriately, I guess. I would hope that it happens, like probably only the really bad situations are the ones that we hear about, but they're very common. We hear about them a lot once you sort of stop having blinders on and trying to ignore it. So yes, the moral of the story is, I was primed to not allow contention and to believe that it was bad and to just try to always say the kind thing. But in worst case scenario, that made me and those around me, that made me more primed to like be a victim of like abuse or exploitation. And like if it happened one time, I would be more primed for it to continue, like for me to not be able to get out of the situation, right? And also, like, if I became aware of other people like being in bad situations, I would be more likely. I was taught to gaslight them, and like keep them in harm's way. But even like going away from the like bad worst case scenario stuff, this way of relating with my own feelings and with other people deprived me of building real, true authenticity and intimacy in relationships, like just with my missionary companion, And it's not like, that's the greatest loss of my life, because it's like, well, these are just people that I was assigned to be with all the time, but I'm sure it would have helped. I'm sure it would have helped if, when we were having problems, if we could have like actually talked about it and had to be productive. And like, if I had like been raised my whole life to believe that that was like healthy and not of the devil, basically. So yeah, that's where we'll leave that, and let's go ahead and jump forwards. I've been having a great time working on this project, and it takes a lot of time every week to keep this up. If you have the desire and the means to support me financially, it really helps a lot. Of course, I have the disclaimer that your donations will not bring eternal salvation for you or anyone else. But there are links in the description where you can make a one-time donation or sign up to join my monthly patrons to support this and my other creative work. Thank you. And let's get back to it. Monday, July 20th, 2015. Mission Day 283. An interesting P-Day. We hiked Pine Ridge Canyon and got fancy ice cream at Custer County Candy Company. At Walmart, the Herzigs helped us pay for our groceries, and at the car wash in Custer, we discovered my wallet had been left at Walmart. We prayed first, drove back, and found it at customer services. While hiking, Sister Snow put cute flowers into my braid. At the waterfall, she took them out and tossed them into the stream, where they floated peacefully and majestically away as a poetic symbol of our friendship. I hope the elders think we're nuts, smiley face. And then this is in all italics. Guess what? My favorite cereal ever has always been French Toast Crunch, but it was discontinued 10 plus years ago. I was so sad, distraught. But at Walmart today, it was back on the shelf. I bought a family-sized box and it tastes just like I remember. Childhood. Smiley face. There we go. What an interesting departure from my typical entry. It looks like we really had a kind of relaxing P-Day. I kind of wish I still had my my planner so I could look and see, like, did we do anything, like, did we go have lessons and stuff this day, or were we kind of slacking off? I don't know, but it is nice to get a chance to read just like a little moment of like Allie coming back online. There's so much of just stuff about, so much of my journal at this point is not really stuff about my own internal world and stuff I personally am excited about. It's just, about, oh, here's this family, and oh, here's this person we met, and oh, we were attracting, right? But for this one little moment, I'm super excited about this cereal that I loved and I found, and I splurged and I bought some, and it was so good. And now that I look back on this, I'm like, I wonder if it was actually discontinued. Like, I wonder if it just like stopped being sold in our area or something. Like, was it just like not being distributed to Utah anymore? I don't know, but I do remember this cereal experience. I remember being so excited, and from the earlier entries, and I think I remember from the last few weeks, I think July, like somehow the first week in July, I already had spent like half of my money on grocery shopping, so it was like, oh gosh, it's going to be a tight month. So it's interesting seeing how the money is tying into the stuff I'm writing about today, because not only was there like a splurge of a purchase, and I was like, I really don't have money. I mean, I didn't write it down, but I can remember the idea of like, oh man, this is totally, I'm worried I don't have enough money for this, but I'm so excited about this. Like this, I care about this so much that I'm going to buy this cereal. And also just like we stopped, we went on a district P-Day trip, which were not very common, right? Most of my P-Days, we were not going and having fun with other missionaries, or going on hikes, right? Most of the time it's just us, wake up, study, and then, okay, we got 6 hours, so we got to clean, do our laundry, buy our groceries, get the car washed, maybe take a nap because we're probably half sick because we're so tired. And then all of a sudden it's like, that's it, right? But this was one of those days where we it was set up for us to have a group hiking thing. So yeah, we went on a hike and we stopped and got ice cream after. And then of course, I also, there was a family who helped us pay for our groceries, and that was very sweet. There were many times like this where I was really lucky to be in an area with such sweet people, and I think that there are kind, generous people all over the world, so probably every missionary has this experience. I mean, I don't know. But I certainly had the experience that, sometimes it'd be the end of the month or even not the end of the month, and we'd be out buying groceries, and there would be an LDS family either in our ward, or maybe they were just traveling and they just saw the missionaries, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, missionaries, like, we have to take you out, like, we're gonna go, come with us, we're gonna feed you, or you're buying groceries, please let us buy you our groceries, like, we have a kid on a mission right now, or like, I remember when I was a missionary, like, we never had enough money, like, let us step in and take care of you. And that was like, a positive memory of sort of the community stepping in and stepping up to help missionaries, and that was always really heartwarming. But now I can also see that it's unfortunate that it's so normalized for young people to be exploited financially. That's how I see it. I see myself in this situation. I was like, oh yeah, I was being exploited by this super wealthy church. I was paying for the privilege of proselyting and building their organization. And it's so built into the LDS culture that you really respect missionaries, and that they don't have enough money probably, so you step in and you help them out, and you feed them, and you buy their groceries, or you buy their coat, or you buy their snow boots. But it's unfortunate that the community does have to step in this way to cover for people who are being exploited, rather than like, well, what if instead of you stepping in and helping missionaries who are being exploited, what if missionaries weren't exploited, and then we all had the resources to help more people, But that's how it was. Also, okay, I'm waxing long on this one entry, but there were two things I wanted to point out. So the first one was my wallet going missing. And just, this is a classic, the one of the most classic prayer answered, God knows me and loves me and it's real and this is the true church, etc. The classic story that you will hear if you go to a Mormon church and it's testimony meeting and people are going up and sharing how they felt God's hand in their life and how they feel reaffirmed in their faith, is they lost their wallet, or they lost their keys, or they lost their phone, and they realize it and they're like, oh no, this is pretty bad, like, I will be very inconvenienced if I can't find this. They sit down, they pray, and then they're like, all right, I prayed, so God's guiding me, so now let's just go. Let's see if I can find it. And then usually they find it, and then it's like this whole faith affirming experience. And this happened actually to me a lot because, I mean, I think it's pretty human to lose your wallet and keys and phone sometimes, but I also have ADHD, it turns out, so I lose stuff a lot. And at this point I didn't know that, so I didn't have as many helpful systems to like help me not lose things as often. So yeah, I lost my wallet, felt really embarrassed, felt really bad. But the first thing we did was pray. And, we prayed, drove back, and then went to the store, and lo and behold, someone had turned it in at customer services. And the thing that I want to point out about this is my takeaway from this as a missionary wasn't, oh wow, what a beautiful world I live in where someone would find a wallet and instead of taking it, they give it to customer services. Like, isn't that just a beautiful moment of, like, sometimes the world sucks, but sometimes people are really awesome and they do really cool things like this, right? And it can, like, be affirming of my faith in humanity. But no, my takeaway from this would have been like, oh man, God is so awesome. God is so good. God is so great and powerful, and God loves me. And even though I am so imperfect and I lost my wallet and I'm wasting time, I'm wasting the Lord's time, God inspired God inspired the right person to find it so that they would put it in customer services so I could get it and we wouldn't have to waste the Lord's resources. Yeah, that's how I would have interpreted that. And then also, just wanted to mention the waterfall flowers thing. I guess, I don't know, reading back through this, I'm like, interesting. I guess the way I best understand this now is we had been through some turbulence, Sister Snow and I, and it was particularly weird because there's this whole power dynamic of I'm the senior companion and she's the junior in training companion. She's the greenie. So in addition to all the like normal conflicts that come up when you are assigned to live with someone 24/7 and do this extremely intense missionary work with them. Also, there's this like even bigger than normal like power dynamic weird thing going on. So yeah, we basically had disagreements and like arguments that we just never really were able to resolve. But at this point, it was seeming like it was getting close to the end of this transfer, and we were pretty sure that she was going to stay and I was going to be transferred out. So we were starting to have this like nostalgic whitewashing of our past times together, and we were both aware of like, well, this has been hard sometimes, but also you're more comfortable with the devil that you know than the devil that you don't know. Not that our relationship was devilishly hard, but it was just like, it gets to a point when you're with a companion that even if it's not always fun and games, if by the time you get to the end of your time together, typically I would start to feel really nostalgic and be like, oh man, like this was the best time ever, and like we're so close, and we're gonna be the best friends in the whole world for all time, and like we probably were in pre-earth life together as spirits, and we like knew that we were gonna be missionary companions together, and now we're finally reunited. And I guess like kind of what I was referring to in the introductory section of this episode is just like there would be this level of sort of false closeness that would come, and we would like write really long letters of like how much we love and appreciate each other, and like, we're gonna do each other's nails, or like, oh, she like put flowers in my hair and it's like so sweet, and we felt like so close, but we weren't truly that close. Like we hadn't actually done the work that is required to become close to someone, which is like not only experiencing the fun, joyful moments together, but also like talking through disagreements, etc. So it was very like flat pastel, not quite delusional, not delusional, but like not totally real, like not totally real friendship. These moments. It's what I'm sort of seeing upon reflection. So let's keep going. Tuesday, July 21st, 2015. Mission Day 284. Week 11 of 12 week. Sister Snow takes the lead in all teaching and planning situations. She's doing a great job, as expected. I found myself having to hold my tongue and let her guide a few times. Smiley face. She's really been fighting the idea that our time as companions is almost up. But at our 12-week meeting in Rapid, even the zone leader said it's going to happen. So she squared her shoulders and did it. I'm giving her training advice, and she made a planner for her new sister. Smiley face. I'm really praying that she will train. She'd learn and grow a lot, and she's ready for it. We finally had our over-the-phone Law of Chastity update with Marvin. I just came out and told him that there is a pornographic image on his phone. He was surprised, but he committed to go through his apartment and get rid of bad pictures. Woohoo! Kick out the bad to make room for the good. I've been feeling like we should go back to see Doug, and Sister Snow has too. So we went and saw him today with Sister Herzig. He's been getting pretty depressed while we've been gone. And he wants the happiness of the gospel. May I just say that Doug, who never says yes or no to anything, is now on date for September 5th. Wow. Okay. Yeah, so Sister Snow is getting close to being done training, so 12-week training, and it's week 11 of the 12 weeks, so we're getting close to the end here, and she really doesn't want me to leave and have to figure out stuff with a new companion and possibly be in charge, but they're like, well, it's happening, so she's accepting God's will with patience and calm. Funny that there's no, I'm just now realizing that it's kind of weird that when we would get transfer calls or assignments, there was not even an option of will you do this? There was not even a pretext of pretending that this was something that we were choosing to do. There was no will you accept this? With the understood that we would always say yes. It was just told to us. There was no option to say no. Interesting. But yeah, I guess also we were getting the idea that she might become a trainer next because there must have been a lot of new missionaries coming or something. And I was like, well, she's amazing, so she's probably going to be a trainer. Anyway, what I gotta point out is the bad pictures with Marvin talk. So, I guess, it was just last week when I wrote down that I had the feeling that Marvin was in this life not going to be baptized, but we should still keep working with him as best we could. So it looks like somehow we saw porn on his phone, which is, really, that was definitely an inappropriate thing for us to be exposed to as just two young ladies knocking on this guy's door and then like teaching him about God. Like, for sure, I now have a little bit more of I have a less of a black and white idea on pornography as being just totally evil, and right, I think it's a little bit more complicated than that, and not not evil and terrible and bad and like bringing the devil into you in all situations like the way that I was taught. But certainly this, I'm like, oh yeah, this was an inappropriate situation that I was in at this point. But and I guess he had like kind of like sexy pictures on his wall. They probably weren't like porn actually, but you know, the current prophet has said and reiterated that if women walk around with bare shoulders, that they are becoming porn, they are walking pornography. So I don't even remember, like, you know, like, was it just like a kind of hot picture of like some celebrity, but like, you know, not actually, I don't know. Just weird to be in the situation where you have to talk to grown adults and like tell them off about this when you're like a 20-year-old woman and you're telling this like veteran on his, he was not on his deathbed, but that's like kind of the situation he was getting to. And we were like, you got to get this off of your phone so that, and like clean off your walls so that like you can have the spirit with you. Like, that's just not not really an appropriate situation now, I would think. That wasn't up to us. Yeah, I guess there's way too much of controlling controlling people's, even adults, access to sexuality within Mormonism. And there's the assumption that if you are in some way authorized as like God's authority over this person, then it's your responsibility to control this aspect of their life and like tell them off. So that was part of the job of being a missionary, and it was always really awkward when it came up, and I hated teaching the law of chastity. Yeah, also, I guess another aspect of how that just really strange and intense black and white and like authority figure, how that frame of view affected me at this point on my mission was that, yeah, I didn't have a sense of what was like healthy and what wasn't healthy, like what is normative and what is not. I just thought it was all bad. So that kind of made it so that I not only would think that things were bad and evil and scary and of the devil if they were totally normal and actually fine and safe. But also, then I also would have seen things that were like really inappropriate to like, or like dangerous, inappropriate, not normal to like have up on your walls in a place where people will come and see. Like, that is not normal. But I thought it was like all on the same level. So it not only made me like more like picky about what I thought was bad, but it also made me kind of blind to red flags of if a person or a situation could be considered like, oh, something is off about this. Like, this is past the level of what is normal and healthy and just kind of reality for like a sort of normative person. And And I couldn't see, like, oh, we've knocked on this person's door and they have like hardcore porn on the walls, but it's just like, oh well, let's go talk to them and like bring God into their life. Like, can you see how that kind of gave me a level of naivete that could be problematic as a door-to-door saleswoman for a church, right? And then also, I want to talk about Doug. So it's been a long time since I talked about Doug, so you probably don't even remember he exists if you have been listening up to this point. So he's in Custer, is the fake name for the town. And he had been meeting with missionaries for a long time, thought he would never commit to anything, and he was super depressed. And basically, we had dropped him. But then we're like feeling like we should go back and see him, which we interpreted as God giving us the inspiration to go. So we go back and we see him, and it turns out we were probably some of the only people who's talked to him at all, because he was very isolated and had some stuff going on. I don't even know what, but he was really isolated and really lonely. And just the way that I wrote this is really telling. I said, he's been pretty depressed while we've been gone, and he wants the happiness of the gospel. So yeah, you can see how I, in my mind, have attributed all happiness is, if anyone is happy, it's because it's God's, it's like happiness that is associated with God, the gospel, and righteous living and God. And if they feel happy, but it's like from something wicked and sinful, then it's fake happy. It's not real happy. And if they feel happy and it's related to something like good and virtuous, lovely, of good report, or praiseworthy, then it's like from the gospel. So all happiness, all real happiness comes from the gospel, the restored gospel, and from God and Jesus. And I couldn't see that, and maybe I kind of could, but because this is the way that I saw the world, I thought it was okay. What was going on was that here was a man, an older man, who was lonely, he was depressed, he had something going on, and he was desperate for connection, desperate to feel less stuck and alone and depressed. And so we were exploiting his human need for sort of just the basic happiness of having a community and having people who care about you, to make him join our church. So we got him put on date for September 5th to get baptized. That's how they get you. All right. Wednesday, July 22nd, 2015, Mission Day 285. So I was totally putting off the prompting to go tracting today. I know. We're gonna go tomorrow, so hopefully we'll all be good. Sister Snow seemed a little off today, and right during area call, she said she's been feeling pretty depressed, discouraged, frustrated with being in Custer full time. I'm glad we had Sister call after that, because she seemed more chipper. We went to the church after a contentious meal at the Hertzig's home to do media hour. The elders came in to talk about what we felt could happen during transfers. I said that Sister Snow needs to train, that we'd love another transfer together covering both areas. I'm really not worried about it. I think I might be a sister training leader soon. I told Sister Harris about how I've been fasting for Sister Snow. Not sure why. All right. There's a lot of me putting in little breadcrumbs about what I think is God's plan and how I'm trying to show that I am in tune with the Spirit about it. But first, I just want to mention that how I dealt with Sister Snow's feelings, because it's proof of what I talked about. So we were having area call with our district leader, and she said she's been feeling depressed, discouraged, and frustrated with being in Custer full time. So, I won't. We had normally been split between Custer and I can't remember the other name, the fake name, the other area. But because of the big event happening in the other area, that was supposedly dangerous for sister missionaries to be there, we were stuck in Custer. And there was less stuff going on here, and we had less people we were talking to. So she was feeling depressed and discouraged and frustrated. And it looks like there was nothing, it looks like we didn't talk about it at all, because we're not supposed to be depressed or anxious or frustrated. Because what I wrote is that I was glad that we had a call after that because she seemed more chipper. So it's like she mentions on a call to our district leader that she's been feeling depressed and frustrated and discouraged, and then we get off the phone and we don't talk about it because let us all speak kind words to each other, right? Can't have contention. And then later the sister training leader calls, and then she's feeling better. Hooray, that fixed it. Can you see how this idea of not being able to talk about our uncomfortable feelings results in a lack of truly close and helpful relationships? Yes, very good example, unfortunately. Poor Sister Snow. All right. But of course I have to talk about, also, speaking of contention, we went to a contentious meal at the Herzig's home. After a contentious meal at the Herzig's home, we went and we did media hour. And it's just like, of course I had to mention that it was contentious because it was bad. And there was like no other follow-up about that, but besides the fact that for me, that would have been so, being around people where there was some sort of conflict or some sort of tension that was like either being addressed or not addressed is always uncomfortable. But when I was a missionary, it was like so uncomfortable because I was tasked as a missionary with always having the Spirit with me and always bringing the Spirit with me, which what that really means is I was supposed to always be happy and peaceful and cheerful, and I was always supposed to bring happiness and cheer and peace to everyone I was around. And if I was in a place where people were upset and I couldn't cheer them up by my presence or by the things that I would say or whatever, then I was like not only like failing as a missionary to have the Spirit, but suddenly my ability to feel the Spirit and to receive God's inspiration about what I should say or where I should go, it was gone. So it was like my vital connection to my source of power and information and decision making was gone anytime I was around people who were in some sort of conflict. So it was not only uncomfortable, but like disastrous feeling. So that's why I would have written that down. And then just the last thing, the little breadcrumbs. The little breadcrumbs here is how I'm talking about how I was feeling about transfers coming up and how I was feeling like, I was like, I think I might be a sister training leader soon. And then leading after that, I was like, I told Sister Harris, the current sister training leader, that I had been fasting for Sister Snow. I'm not sure why, but I was sure why. So I'll lay it out for you. to be a sister, well, for one, I had been told by the previous sister training, like the sister training leader when I was in my first area, she was like, hey, you're gonna be a sister training leader. Just know that that's coming for you. Like, that's, you are the right personality or whatever. Like, she's like, don't freak out, but this is gonna happen to you. So I'd been coming to terms with that, and I was like, yeah, okay, she was inspired, so I know that that's coming, so here's the transfer coming up. This could be the one. And I'm just kind of writing the stuff down, priming myself for if I do get that call, if I do get asked to be a sister training leader, then it's like, yep, I felt God's inspiration and I was inspired and this feels right. And if it doesn't happen, it's like, all right, it's not time yet, but I'll just keep waiting. And then I was even doing my best to practice being sister training leader by fasting or, trying to get extra God's help for Sister Snow, which is a very sister training leader coded thing to do, right? Because the sister training leader is in charge of the welfare of the sisters that she's in charge of. And there's a lot of not only hey, how's your missionary work going? And let's do some practice, let's practice role playing, how to do a good street contact, or let's practice what do we say when someone says anti-Mormon lies, or there's that aspect of the practical how teaching the skill of being a missionary to the other missionaries. But a big part of being a sister training leader is putting on a show of loving and caring for the sisters that you're in charge of, and being really involved in all of their emotional and mental well-being. So me telling my current sister training leader that I have been fasting for the sister that I'm training is me signaling to her that I am ready for this responsibility. And if she's been asked by our mission president for recommendations of who to recommend to replace her, she should give my name. That's what I was saying right there. Okay. Thursday, July 23rd, 2015, Mission Day 286. Today was awesome because Heavenly Father planned it that way, and we followed his plan. Smiley face. We had a super fun companionship study where, since Sister Snow was taking the lead, she had us practice role-playing some tracting approaches. I was super impressed at her ability to stay in character, no matter how ridiculous that character may be. Then we went to Bonnie Dolly for a lesson on the firefly perspective, and Byron and his mom Angie stopped in, which was good. We're not sure how Byron's doing. We haven't seen him since Trayden Styler's baptism last Saturday. And then I wrote half of Sydney's farewell letter during lunch, and then we finished weekly planning in one day, complete with a progress record and companionship inventory. We're going to try doing phone lessons with Nora. We'll see how that goes. Give it a test run. Smiley face. We had dinner with the Ikedas and finally just sat down and read His Grace is Sufficient. It took 2 transfers to make that happen. Trent got a priesthood blessing from the elders last night to help him. But what I'm really excited about is when we left at 8:40, mind you, that would be 8:40 p.m., we used that time to go tracting. Smiley face. I'm so proud of us. Smiley face. And Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ are too. Sister Snow was so nervous because we've only gone about 4 times. But the first door we knocked on, the older lady let us in to visit. And we had a kind of awkward and distracted conversation, but invited her to come to church. She's Catholic, but she just moved in with her son and hasn't found a church here yet. Smiley face. The Spirit witnessed to me that she was why we needed to go picking wheat today. I love being a missionary. The more I do it, the better it is. Smiley face. Okay. There are many things I could say about this day, but I'm going to focus on that tracting thing. And I, it's funny because it was just the day before that I was writing about, oh no, I've been feeling like we need to go tracting. We're going to go tomorrow, so hopefully that's fine. And then here we go, finally responding to that prompting to go tracting, or even just the nagging sense that we're supposed to be doing that all the time. And I hate doing it, and I'm supposed to be training someone to do it, and we've only been 4 times, and I really should take her tracting because she's supposed to be learning how to do this, and I'm letting her down if I'm not making us go tracting, even though it sucks. I think that was also some of what was going on, but of course, the way that I see it as it goes down is what I write here. Today was awesome because Heavenly Father planned it that way, and we followed his plan. So just every time something worked out the way that we were told it was supposed to, it wasn't because we worked hard and we we had the power to make a difference in the world, and ergo we built up a little bit of our feelings of self-esteem and self-impact of like, yeah, I can make things happen. Like if I work hard, sometimes that'll pay off, like eventually it'll pay off, and like I'll make the difference in the world that I'm trying to make. That was never the takeaway. The takeaway was, wow, I can trust in God, and if I am neurotic enough and compulsive enough about listening to every anxious random thought that comes into my head that I think is from God, then God will guide me to do God's work, and all glory to God, right? And of course, the main the main evidence of this was how I had been feeling like we needed to go tracting, and then we go tracting, and the first door we knock on, proof of God's miracle. There's this wonderful older lady who's Catholic, but it's kind of awkward, but she lets us in, and we find out that she has just moved in and she hasn't found a church yet. So that's I could look through this and find where it says, I could look through Preach My Gospel and find where it says the section on finding people. But one of the specific things they say is like people who have recently moved and are looking for a church are a good, they're a good, that's like a good group of people to talk to, because they will actually be interested and they're not just like already set and have a church they like. So that just felt really inspired. It's like, oh my gosh, the thing that we told in our training manual, it happened. Oh, it was God. God knew we needed to be there, and he knew she just moved in, and it was important that we go soon, because soon she would find a different church. But because we went today, we listened soon enough to God's promptings, and we got her in time before she found another church, and now she'll join our church, and now her family will be together forever in heaven, and hooray. That's the line of thought there. Also, so many smiley faces in there. That was a lot. That was more than normal. All right. And I will go on to Friday, and for some reason, Saturday and Sunday are not written down. I think perhaps the pages got lost, or I just never wrote them down. I'm not sure what happened, but we just have up to Friday this week, so this is the last one. So brace yourself. Friday, July 24th, 2015, Mission Day 287. Happy Pioneer Day! We had district meeting in Custer again since rally. That was weird, but also normal. Elder Parks had a nice training on teaching to the temple, but what I mostly pulled out is that I wanted to study from Preach My Gospel every day. The Relief Society party at the park went on today. We were only there for the last 20 minutes, but it was long enough to talk with Sister Kelsey Marr to see that she is beyond overwhelmed by preparing for girls' camp, so we're going to go help her tomorrow. We went to the McAvoys for dinner. Smiley face. Jackson was there, and he reminds me of Ben. Danette is so cool. I'm amazed at how her faith has given a constant source of hope and comfort to sustain her while she waits for Matthew to accept the fullness of the gospel. If I'm supposed to learn anything from this area, it's that I'm going to marry a priesthood holder with the same goals and priorities. We also decided today, Sister Snow's idea, that we're going to do a musical number for sacrament meeting on Sunday. So we practiced with Rebecca Davis while waiting for exchanges to happen. We'll do an arrangement of Be Still My Soul by Larry Beek. And I've never played it before, so probably we'll use our tracting time to practice. Exchanges. I miss Sister Snow. Yes, I love Sister Harris and all that, but I really love Sister Snow. I pray she'll receive the help and strength she needs during her day with Sister Westrick. I guess I was on exchanges. Okay. Talk through the day beginning to end. First of all, it's Pioneer Day, which is not really a thing outside of Utah or like Mormonism. Pioneer Day is celebrated. I can't remember if this is actually the day it happened in history or if it's just like, sort of the day, but the story, at least in my head, that I still know is like, that's the day that Brigham Young arrived in the Salt Lake Valley with a group of pioneers who were going west after all the getting kicked out of Missouri and Illinois and all that. And then he gets there and he's like, this is the place. I've seen it in a vision. This is where Zion will be. And now that is celebrated every year in Utah. It's actually pretty dark when you think about what that actually meant for not only all the people who were brought to the middle of nowhere to be raised generations of their families in a very extreme environment, but also it's very dark when you consider how that affected the people who already lived there. There is a lot of really dark, gruesome, horrifying stories about how the Mormon pioneer settlers in Utah and those areas, how they dealt with the indigenous people there. There were a lot of there was the writing into the Utah Constitution of it's okay for us to enslave these people. There are also stories of mass massacres, and also just lots of one-on-one instances of violence and every bad thing. So yeah, but of course, when I was a missionary, I don't really know most of that or think about it if I knew it, right? It was just a day to celebrate the church, I guess. But also weird because, as we've seen, there have been days where it was a normal, regular, a normal to a person in the U.S. holiday. And I would write how I was like, oh yeah, I guess someone mentioned to us today was Valentine's Day and we kind of forgot about it, just our perspective on what was worth celebrating and what we just ignored was very strange. I want to point out Sister Kelsey Marr being beyond overwhelmed by preparing for girls' camp. So we were going to go help her. So I'm going to get into this a little bit. Girls' camp is like the sort of, as you would expect, sort of traditional, like, we're going to go away for a few days, maybe for a week, and we're going to have all the young ladies in our congregation, ages 12 to 18, we're going to go with their young women leaders, and they're going to go camping, and we'll do some fun hiking activities, but a lot of it is like crafting and talking about marriage and singing songs about how you want to get married. And, you know, there's like some, depending on where you are, you might have some cool, actually like fun camping activities. Like maybe you might actually go canoeing or something. But a lot of, at least in my experience and like the people I've talked to and been around, a lot of girls' camp is, especially for the leaders, there's this expectation that it's really like pretty, and there's like a theme, and there's like maybe coordinated snacks, and like maybe they decorate the tents in this like certain way, and you know, like there's a lot of pressure on the women in the congregation who are in charge of the young women to give the young woman a very beautiful and fulfilling and spiritual testimony, edifying girls' camp experience. And so Sister Mar was trying to make that happen, and I remember going to her place, and she just had all these crafting things that she was trying to like finish, and like handouts, and like all the little cute quotes on paper, and like different activities for the girls to do, and like, oh, well, we want them to do this like Mod Podge, like, you know, cutting out different like pictures and like cute paper and putting them on a washer, and then that's going to be a charm that they can take home and remember this by. And like all of that takes so much work. Like, not only is it like frustrating in the sense that the girls didn't get to have like a real camping experience the way that like the boys did, because they got to just do actually Boy Scout stuff. Like they could actually just go like work on building their feelings of empowerment, and like work on, oh yeah, if I have to figure something out, I can, because look, I'm out here climbing this thing and it's hard and I'm figuring it out. Or, you know, like there's that aspect to it of like the frustration of this strong gendering going on. But also there's this sense of like, oh, those silly ladies, they keep spending all this time and money like making these dumb crafts that don't mean anything. So there's like a simultaneous expectation to make girls' camp like super girly, but also the sense that it's like stupid, and the women who spend time on that are like wasteful and frivolous, and like they're being ridiculous. So there's a lot of like weird misogyny going on here in so many ways that is just really sad to look back on. And I'm glad we were able to help Sister Mar, but probably not as much as like she would have really needed. She was just always super overwhelmed. They had like 10 kids, you know, and she was super mom, but she was always super overwhelmed. I remember that's the vibe I have from her now. Anyway, then moving on to the McAvoys. They were a family that just Sister McAvoy was LDS, and they lived kind of far out from everyone else on just their own ranch. And of course, the way that I was impressed by her was not that she was like like this cool woman who was like homesteading and like, you know, she has all these skills of like being able to take care of rodeo animals and all that, right? Like that is pretty impressive. But no, I was impressed by her constant source of hope and comfort that she got from her faith while she was waiting for her husband to join the church. And my takeaway was, and it's like, I was like, I think what God wants me to learn from living here in this area is that I need to marry a priesthood holder with the same goals and priorities as me, which is to follow God's plan, aka be a family proclamation couple. So church first, God first. He is supposed to provide and protect. I'm supposed to nurture. We're supposed to get married in the temple, keep the, no sex before marriage. And then once we get married, we need to have kids. And it's my job to nurture and raise the kids in the church. And it's going to be his job to work hard and get money and to remain worthy so that we can have his priesthood direction, and he'll get direct revelation from God on what's best for our family. So if we need to move for him to work, he'll know from God, and it'll be kind of up to him. And if our kids are having a hard time, he'll be able to get inspiration from God, and he can give us blessings, and he can do our kids' baptisms, etc. That was my takeaway. You can see what's on my mind, right? You can see how much I'm like always mulling this over, how it just comes up so much. And I will finish with the little thing on exchanges and missing Sister Snow. So, reminder about exchanges. So, another thing that happened when they changed the ages of missionaries, where suddenly it used to be that young men couldn't go until they were 19, but they changed it to that they could go when they were 18. And also the bigger change was young women used to have to wait till they were 21 to go, but they changed it to that you could go if you were 19. And so while before it had been kind of like consider, well, like a lot of people, for reasons of practicality, it's not required that you go on a mission if you're a woman the way that it is if you're a young man. And yes, I am talking in gender binaries, but the LDS Church does not recognize non-binary or transgender people as real, so that's why. I see how binary this is, and I'm just going to point out that I don't believe that anymore, but that is the framework that the church has. Anyway, so yes, young women are not required to go on missions the way that men were, but also, like, by the time you're 21, if you're not required to go on a mission, like, you're probably like married or in school or like working, and it just like doesn't make sense anymore. So besides the fact that there's kind of like it was like kind of like seen as like the sort of old maid, like looked down on thing of if you were a sister missionary. Well, now all of a sudden, yeah, so there were not a lot of sisters basically. So basically, up until this point, sisters did not go on exchanges. Or if they did, it was just like amongst, I don't know how that worked. But when they changed the ages in it was either 2012 or 2013. I think it was 2012. It was like, yeah, but so now all of a sudden there were a ton of sister missionaries, and they realized, oh, we have to be able to have them go on exchanges now, and we have to have some sort of leadership calling, right? So that was where the sister training leader was created, that position. And the elders had been going on exchanges since forever, but now the sisters also went on exchanges with the sister training leader. So yeah, we were on exchanges. So I went with Sister Harris, the sister training leader, to her area, and Sister Harris's companion, Sister Westrick, went to my area with Sister Snow. So we could exchange companions for 24 hours to sort of train each other, get training, and also to just like sort of feel out if there's like something weird going on, and does the mission president need to get involved? Like, yeah. So anyway, I'm on exchanges and I'm with Sister Harris. And I wrote, I miss Sister Snow. Yes, I love Sister Harris, and I love Sister Harris and all that, but I really love Sister Snow. And now I'm like, yeah, that was as honest as I could be, but now I could say I didn't really like Sister Harris. Like, besides, like she and I have nothing against her, like, as a person, but she's just not the personality that I enjoyed spending time with, But there was this requirement to love everyone, so I was like, I can't act like I don't like her, because I have to love her. And I can't even write down in my journal that this day kind of sucks because I don't really like spending time with her. So the way that I wrote it was, of course I love her, but I really love Sister Snow. It was basically like, I don't really like spending time with Sister Harris. I didn't really like the way that she interacted with me as the sister training leader. But I had to pretend like I loved her and it was great. But yeah, I did prefer hanging out with Sister Snow. So yeah, I wonder how her time was with Sister Westrick. I remember liking Sister Westrick more. So at least in that sense, I'm glad Sister Snow was with her. And that's my 43rd week as a Mormon sister missionary. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast if you want to continue following my story. Please rate and review this episode, and please share this with anyone you think would be interested. I hope you have a great week, and if you want my advice, just remember that you can love others best when you love yourself first. Bye!